Before we begin, a quick and important disclaimer. The following content is provided strictly for educational and entertainment purposes. The insights, trends, and projections discussed regarding the future of social media and digital technology are based on current market observations, historical data, and industry analysis. This video does not constitute professional marketing, financial, legal, or career advice. The digital landscape is notoriously volatile, and platform algorithms are subject to change without notice. Potential outcomes for individual creators, businesses, or investors may vary significantly based on numerous external factors. Viewers are strongly encouraged to conduct their own due diligence and consult with qualified professionals before making any significant strategic shifts, investments, or career changes based on the predictions shared in this masterclass. The social media era as you know it is over. For nearly 2 decades, the foundational promise of the internet was the social graph. It was the idea that your digital experience should be defined by who you know, your friends, your family, and the people you chose to follow. But that era has officially reached its expiration date. We are currently witnessing the greatest paradigm shift in the history of human communication, a transition from the social graph to the interest graph. If you are a creator, a business owner, or simply a user in the United States, the rules of engagement have been rewritten overnight. The follower count, once the ultimate metric of digital power and the primary currency of the creator economy, is rapidly becoming a vanity metric with diminishing returns. We have moved into a period of algorithmic entertainment where your content is no longer delivered to people because they know you, but because a machine has calculated that they cannot look away from you. This shift is not a minor update. It is a total reconstruction of the digital landscape that will determine who succeeds and who disappears in the next 5 years. This deep dive masterclass is designed to solve the most pressing problem facing every digital citizen today: the feeling of shouting into a void despite doing everything right. Many of you have noticed that your organic reach has plummeted, your engagement is erratic, and the strategies that worked in 2021 are now yielding negligible results. This video will provide the architectural blueprint for the next phase of the internet. By the end of this session, you will understand the 5 tectonic shifts that are currently unfolding, allowing you to stop chasing the ghost of 2010 social media and start building for the reality of 2030. We are going to examine the potential outcomes of AI integration, the decentralization of community, and the death of the traditional feed, using case studies from the world's largest platforms to illustrate why these changes are inevitable. To understand where we are going, we must first analyze the historical trends that brought us to this precipice. The first age of social media, roughly from 2004 to 2012, was the age of connection. This was the MySpace and early Facebook era, where the primary value proposition was digitizing your physical social circle. The goal was to find people you already knew. The second age, from 2012 to 2020, was the age of curation. This was the rise of Instagram and Pinterest, where we began to follow people we didn't know but whose lives or aesthetics we admired. This period birthed the influencer economy. However, we have now entered the third age, the age of calculation. In this new reality, human curation is being replaced by machine learning models that can predict your desires more accurately than you can articulate them. Consider the historical trend of platform evolution. When Facebook first introduced the newsfeed, it was a radical departure because it aggregated information in one place. But it was still rooted in your social circle. Today, platforms like TikTok and the redesigned Instagram Reels have inverted this. They prioritize the global pool of content over the local pool of your friends. This is why a creator with 0 followers can garner 10 million views on their first video, while a veteran creator with 1 million followers might struggle to reach 10,000. The algorithm has moved from being a distribution tool to being the editor-in-chief of the world. This transition is creating a massive vacuum for those who do not understand how to communicate with artificial intelligence as much as they communicate with human beings. The problem for the US audience is that the traditional ways of building a brand or a business are failing because they rely on the old guard philosophy of audience ownership. In the age of calculation, you do not own your audience, you rent their attention from the algorithm 1 second at a time. This creates a high-stakes environment where the barrier to entry is lower than ever, but the barrier to retention is significantly higher. If you do not adapt to the 5 predictions we are about to discuss, you risk becoming digitally invisible. We are seeing a divergence in the market. On one side, legacy brands are spending millions on traditional social strategies that are seeing a 40% year-over-year decline in effectiveness. On the other side, small, agile entities are leveraging the interest graph to achieve global scale with 0 ad spend. we must also address the technical reality of what is happening behind the screen. We are moving toward a frictionless consumption model. Historically, a user had to perform an action to see content. They had to search, they had to click follow, or they had to join a group. The future of social media is predictive. We are seeing the rise of passive signaling, where the algorithm monitors your dwell time, your scroll speed, and even the micro-expressions captured if you are using certain advanced interfaces to determine what to show you next. This means the concept of a feed is evolving into a personalized stream of consciousness. For a creator or business, this means your content must be able to stand alone without the context of your previous work. Each piece of content is its own startup, its own pilot episode, and its own sales pitch. Furthermore, we need to examine the macroeconomic impact of these shifts. The U.S. digital advertising market is undergoing a massive reevaluation. As privacy laws like the California Consumer Privacy Act and changes to mobile operating system tracking continue to evolve, platforms can no longer rely on third-party data to target users. This is forcing them to keep users on platform longer, so they can collect first-party data. The result? Platforms are actively discouraging users from clicking away to external websites. This is the walled garden effect taken to its logical extreme. If your strategy relies on link in bio or driving traffic to an external landing page, you are fighting against the very business model of the platform. Prediction 1, which we will dive into shortly, deals specifically with how to survive this zero-click reality. The deep dive nature of this masterclass is necessary because the nuance of these changes is where the value lies. It is not enough to say video is the future or AI is coming. We need to look at the step-by-step mechanics of how a neural network processes a video frame and matches it to a user profile. We need to look at the case studies of companies like Netflix, which pioneered the recommendation engine, and how their logic is now being applied to every corner of the social web. We are moving toward a world where the social part of social media happens in private, encrypted DMs and small communities, while the media part happens in the public, algorithmically driven feeds. The stakes could not be higher. For the US workforce, social media is no longer just a place for photos of lunch. It is the primary infrastructure for the reputation economy. Whether you are an employee looking to remain relevant, an entrepreneur looking for customers, or a creative looking for a voice, the algorithm is the gatekeeper. Understanding the predictive models of the future is the only way to ensure that you are not on the wrong side of the digital divide. As we move through these 5 predictions, we will break down the data, analyze the potential outcomes, and give you the historical context needed to see the patterns before they become common knowledge. We are about to pull back the curtain on the next decade of the internet. This is not about what is happening today. It is about what is already being coded for tomorrow. Let us begin the deep dive into the first prediction that is currently reshaping the digital world. Prediction number 1 is the rise of the generative reality feed. For the last decade, social media was essentially a massive digital library where we went to find files that other people had already recorded, edited, and uploaded. In 2026, that library has been replaced by a live synthesis engine. We have moved from a world of content distribution to a world of content creation on demand. Historical trends show that every major leap in social technology has been defined by the reduction of friction between an idea and its consumption. We went from the friction of desktop blogs to the ease of mobile photos, then to the immediacy of short-form video. The final wall to crumble is the static nature of the media itself. Imagine a user in 2026 named Jordan living in Seattle. When Jordan opens a social media application today, the video he sees is not a fixed file stored on a server. Instead, it is a modular experience being assembled in milliseconds specifically for him. If the algorithm knows that Jordan is currently training for a marathon, the background of the video he is watching might subtly feature running gear or a Pacific Northwest trail that he recognizes. If the system detects that Jordan prefers a specific tone of voice or a certain pace of editing, the AI recuts the video in real time to match his neural preferences. This is what we call the hyper-personalized content loop, and it is fundamentally changing the potential outcomes for creators in the United States. To understand how we reached this point, we must look at the case studies of early generative experiments from 2023 and 2024. During that period, we saw the first iterations of AI-driven dubbing and face-swapping technology. In 2026, these have evolved into a seamless architecture. A creator no longer films a single video, they film a set of assets. They provide the core message, their likeness, and their emotional range. The platform's generative engine takes those assets and produces 10 million different versions of that video. one for every single person in the audience. This allows for a level of resonance that was previously impossible. A fitness influencer can now address a viewer by their first name, reference the local weather in the viewer's city, and adjust the difficulty of the workout shown based on the viewer's wearable device data, all without ever filming those specific variations. The data supporting this shift is overwhelming. In 2025, pilot programs using generative ad creative showed a 400% increase in dwell time compared to static video ads. When the content reflects the viewer's immediate reality, the brain's reticular activating system triggers a much higher level of focus. This is the end of the scroll. We are moving toward a gaze-locked experience where the content is so relevant that looking away feels like missing a personal conversation. For the American business owner, this means the focus has shifted from high production value to high data integration. The goal is no longer to make a beautiful video that appeals to everyone, but to provide the highest quality modular assets so the AI can build a beautiful video for anyone. Let us break down the step-by-step process of how this generative reality feed actually functions in 2026. The first step is the data ingestion phase. As you scroll, the platform is pulling from hundreds of signals, including your current location, the time of day, your recent search history across the open web, and even the biometric data from your smartwatch. Step 2 is the asset selection phase. The platform looks at the creator's library and pulls the necessary visual and audio components. Step 3 is the synthesis phase, where a large-scale multimodal model stitches these elements together, generating new frames and audio tracks where gaps exist. Finally, Step 4 is the delivery phase, where the video is streamed to your device with zero perceived latency. This creates a massive opportunity for a new type of professional we are calling the content architect. Unlike the traditional videographer who focuses on the final cut, the content architect focuses on the possibilities. They build the logic trees that govern how the AI should represent their brand in different scenarios. For example, a major US automotive brand in 2026 no longer releases a single commercial for a new electric truck. Instead, they release a generative framework. If a viewer in rural Montana sees the content, the truck is shown towing a heavy load through the snow. If a viewer in downtown Los Angeles sees it, the same truck is shown navigating tight parking structures in the sun. The core message remains the same, but the context is perfectly mirrored to the viewer's life. However, the historical trends also point to a significant challenge within this prediction: the crisis of authenticity. As the line between what was captured by a lens and what was generated by a processor vanishes, the value of the human element undergoes a radical reevaluation. We are seeing a divergence in the US market. One segment of the audience is leaning fully into the AI-optimized experience, preferring the hyper-relevant, perfectly polished generative content. Another segment is beginning to crave what we call raw reality. This has led to the emergence of proof-of-personhood protocols on social platforms, where creators can provide a cryptographic seal that a video was recorded in a single take without generative interference. Potential outcomes of this divergence include a two-tiered internet. On one side, you have the synthetic stream, which is highly efficient, incredibly entertaining, and perfectly tailored to sell products and provide information. On the other side, you have the authentic node, where human-to-human connection is the primary product. For creators in 2026, the most successful strategy has been a hybrid approach. They use generative tools to handle the heavy lifting of distribution and personalization, but they reserve their most important messages for high authenticity, unedited formats. Consider the case study of a mid-sized fashion boutique in New York City. By 2026, they stopped spending money on traditional photo shoots. Instead, they used a generative model to let every visitor to their social profile see the clothes on a digital avatar that has the visitor's exact body measurements and skin tone. This reduced return rates by 60% and increased customer satisfaction scores to all-time highs. This is the power of the generative reality feed. It solves the fundamental problem of digital commerce: the gap between seeing a product on someone else and imagining it on yourself. As we look deeper into this first prediction, we have to talk about the collapse of the traditional influencer. In the past, an influencer was a person who curated a lifestyle that others wanted to follow. In 2026, the AI can curate a lifestyle that is even more compelling and more interactive than any human could sustain. We are seeing the rise of virtual entities that have no physical form but possess millions of followers. These entities are active 24 hours a day, speak every language fluently, and can engage in a million one-on-one conversations simultaneously. This is not a theory. It is the current reality of the 2026 social landscape. But if a machine can provide the entertainment, the information, and even the personalized shopping experience, it leaves us with a massive void in the digital experience. If the algorithm is now the one creating the content, then the very concept of a social network is being pulled apart at the seams. The question you should be asking yourself right now is not how to compete with the AI, but where the AI cannot follow you. Because as content becomes infinitely cheap and perfectly personalized, the one thing that becomes infinitely expensive is something that cannot be faked or scaled. This leads us directly into our second prediction. While everyone is distracted by the flashy world of generative video and AI influencers, a quiet revolution is happening in the way humans actually talk to each other. The era of the public town square is being replaced by something much more exclusive, much more private, and significantly more profitable for those who know how to build it. In the next part, we are going to explore why the most powerful people on the internet in 2026 are no longer posting on their feeds at all, and how a secret shift in digital architecture is creating a new elite class of community leaders who are completely immune to the algorithmic changes we just discussed. Prediction number 2 is the mass migration to the sovereign micro-community. For the past 15 years, the goal of social media was scale. The objective was to reach as many people as possible, regardless of the depth of the connection. But in 2026, we have reached a breaking point. The public town square, once a place for genuine exchange, has been overwhelmed by the generative noise we discussed in the previous section. When every comment section is filled with high-fidelity bots and every feed is a synthesized stream of hyper-optimized entertainment, the human brain begins to crave the one thing a machine cannot manufacture: true accountability within a closed system. Historical trends show that as platforms grow, their signal-to-noise ratio inevitably collapses. We saw this with the early days of message boards moving to massive subreddits, and then those subreddits becoming so moderated or so flooded that they lost their original spark. In 2026, this collapse has triggered what sociologists are calling the Great Digital Fragmentation. People are no longer looking for 1 billion followers, they are looking for 1,000 true peers. This is a shift from the broadcast model to the narrowcast model. Imagine a professional in the United States named Marcus, a structural engineer living in Chicago. In 2021, Marcus used platforms like LinkedIn and X to stay updated on industry trends. By 2026, those public platforms have become so saturated with AI-generated white papers and automated thought leadership posts that Marcus can no longer distinguish between a genuine expert and a sophisticated script. Potential outcomes for his career depended on finding real verified human intelligence. Consequently, Marcus now spends 90% of his digital time inside a sovereign micro-community. This is a private, encrypted enclave of only 400 verified engineers. To enter, Marcus had to provide a cryptographic proof of his professional license and a referral from an existing member. This is not just a group chat. It is a decentralized digital headquarters. These communities are operating on sovereign infrastructure, meaning they are not hosted on a single big tech server that can change the rules or turn off the lights. They use peer-to-peer protocols that ensure the community owns its data, its archives, and its social graph. For the American creator or business owner, the case studies are clear. The value of a user inside one of these enclaves is worth approximately 50 times the value of a follower on a public feed. Why? Because the engagement is high intent and the trust is absolute. Let us look at the step-by-step mechanics of how these communities are built and maintained in 2026. Step 1 is the implementation of a proof of humanity gateway. Before a user can even see the community's landing page, they must pass a biometric or cryptographic check that confirms they are a singular human being. This eliminates the bot problem at the source. Step 2 is the value-based friction phase. Unlike the old social media where joining was as easy as clicking a button, sovereign communities require an investment of time, reputation, or a specialized access key. This friction ensures that everyone in the room is committed to the collective value of the space. Step 3 is the collaborative governance model. In these 2026 communities, the members often have a say in the community's direction, the content allowed, and how the shared resources are used. This creates a sense of ownership that a public follower never feels. Step 4 is the move toward zero platform dependency. By using decentralized tools, these groups can move their entire history and member list from one interface to another seamlessly. They are no longer at the mercy of an algorithm update that might hide their posts from their own members. The data from early 2026 indicates that while public platforms are seeing a massive increase in total views due to generative content, the actual conversion of those views into meaningful action or revenue is at an all-time low. Conversely, sovereign communities are seeing conversion rates of 30 to 40%. In the United States, we are seeing this play out in the rise of what are known as guilds. A group of independent graphic designers in Austin, for example, no longer competes for gigs on public freelance sites. They have formed a private guild where they share leads, critique each other's work without the fear of public trolling, and collectively bargain for better software rates. This shift represents a total reversal of the influencer economy. In the 2010s, you wanted to be known by everyone. In 2026, you want to be indispensable to a few. This is the era of the node leader. A node leader is someone who doesn't necessarily have a blue checkmark or a massive public profile, but they are the central point of a high-value private network. They act as a human filter, curating the best information and the best people for their specific community. Potential outcomes for these leaders include a level of career stability and influence that is completely immune to the volatility of the broader social media market. Think about the historical context of the gated community in physical real estate. When the outside world becomes too loud, too unpredictable, or too dangerous, those with the means move behind a gate. We are now seeing the digital equivalent. But this isn't just for the wealthy. It is for anyone who values their time and their cognitive load. We are seeing communities for hobbyist gardeners in rural Ohio, for parents of children with rare diseases, and for local neighborhood watch groups. These are the new social networks. The public feeds have become the new television, a place to be passively entertained by AI, while the private enclaves have become the new coffee shop, the new office, and the new town hall. The problem this solves for the US audience today is the feeling of digital burnout. The constant demand to perform for an invisible and often hostile public is being replaced by the comfort of a known circle. However, this creates a new challenge, the silo effect. As we move into these private rooms, the shared reality of the American public is further fractured. We are no longer seeing the same news, the same jokes, or the same cultural touchpoints. We are becoming a nation of thousands of private digital tribes. This leads us to a critical realization. If the public feeds are for AI-generated entertainment and the private communities are for human connection, where does the physical world fit in? If we are spending our time in hyper-personalized VR streams or encrypted private rooms, what happens to our relationship with the space around us? This transition is not just about software. It is about how we perceive the world through our own eyes. While these private communities are growing, a new type of technology is beginning to blur the line between the digital enclave and the physical street. We are moving toward a reality where your social media is no longer a screen you look at, but a layer of the world you walk through. In the next part, we are going to explore the third prediction, which involves the total integration of social data into our physical environment. We will look at how the next generation of hardware is making the phone obsolete, and how your digital reputation will soon be visible to everyone you meet in the real world, whether you want it to be or not. This is the rise of spatial socializing, and it is going to change the way you walk down a street in 2026 forever. Prediction number 4 is the emergence of the biosocial link. As we established in our look at spatial environments, the digital world has already moved out of our pockets and into our line of sight. But in 2026, the connection is moving even deeper, transitioning from our eyes to our nervous systems. We are moving from the era of active engagement where you chose to click or scroll to the era of passive resonance. Historical trends in the United States show that the friction of human intent is the last remaining obstacle for social platforms. If an algorithm has to wait for you to tap a screen to know you like something, it is already too late. In 2026, the feed doesn't wait for your thumb. It reads your pulse, your pupil dilation, and your neural oscillations. Imagine Sarah again, still navigating the vibrant streets of New York City in 2026. While her AR glasses provide the visual layer, her standard-looking wireless earbuds are doing something far more sophisticated. They are equipped with high-fidelity, non-invasive EEG sensors, a technology that, by 2026, has captured over 50% of the consumer wearable market. These sensors are constantly monitoring Sarah's cognitive load and emotional state. As she walks past a digital billboard for a new travel documentary, she doesn't need to stop or like the post. Her brain's involuntary aesthetic response, a spike in beta wave activity and a subtle change in heart rate variability, is captured by her earbuds and relayed to the platform. The potential outcomes for the creator economy are a total inversion of the engagement model. In the old social media, we optimize for the click. In 2026, we optimize for the biosignature. This has birthed a new metric called the resonance score. A piece of content is no longer judged by how many people saw it, but by the aggregate physiological impact it had on the audience's nervous systems. Did it actually lower their stress? Did it trigger a genuine spike of curiosity? Case studies from early 2026 indicate that this data is significantly more valuable to American brands than traditional likes, because it cannot be faked by bots or performed by users trying to maintain a specific online persona. It is the first time in history that social media has access to our subconscious. Let us break down the step-by-step technical architecture of the biosocial link in 2026. Step 1 is multimodal biometric ingestion. This involves the synchronization of data from multiple points: the EEG sensors in the ears, the heart rate monitors in the watch, and the eye tracking cameras in the AR glasses. Step 2 is the neural decoding phase. Advanced AI models trained on millions of hours of physiological data translate these raw signals into specific emotional states like frustration, joy, or high-intent desire. Step 3 is the algorithmic synthesis. The platform takes this real-time emotional feed and adjusts the user's environment instantly. If Sarah is feeling a spike in cortisol due to the city noise, her social feed automatically filters out high-energy, loud content and replaces it with soothing, low-frequency audio and minimalist visual overlays. Step 4 is the implementation of bioreactive commerce. This is perhaps the most disruptive change for the US market in 2026. Imagine Sarah looking at a pair of shoes in a spatial shop window. The system detects a high-intent neurosignature, combined with a specific pattern of pupillary focus. Before Sarah even consciously decides she wants them, her digital assistant has already checked her budget, verified her size, and prepared a one-click purchase option that appears in her field of vision. Potential outcomes for retail include a 30% reduction in the deliberation phase of shopping, as the friction between wanting and owning is virtually eliminated. However, the historical trends also point to a massive societal debate over cognitive sovereignty. In the United States, 2026 has seen the introduction of the Neural Privacy Act, a direct response to platforms beginning to harvest emotional data without explicit, granular consent. There is a profound ethical question at the center of this prediction. If the algorithm knows what you want before you do, are you still the one making the choice? We are seeing the rise of MindShield software, designed to inject neural noise into your biofeed to prevent platforms from building an accurate emotional profile of you. This has created a new cat-and-mouse game between privacy-conscious users and data-hungry platforms. The impact on human relationships is equally significant. In 2026, we are seeing the rise of emotional synchrony features in private micro-communities. Imagine a group of friends in different US cities watching a live sports event together. Their biosocial links allow them to feel the collective vibe of the group. If the team scores, the emotional heat map of the group is shared, creating a sense of shared physical presence that transcends the miles between them. You aren't just seeing your friends' reactions, you are, in a sense, feeling them. This is the ultimate evolution of the social in social media. The move from shared information to shared biology. For creators, the challenge in 2026 is no longer about the hook or the thumbnail. It is about neural pacing. A successful video in this era is structured like a musical composition, designed to take the viewer's brain through a specific sequence of emotional states. We are seeing the emergence of bioscriptwriters who use real-time EEG feedback loops during the editing process to ensure every second of the content is hitting the desired neurological marks. This has led to a dramatic increase in the stickiness of content, but also a growing concern about digital addiction 2.0, where the feed is so perfectly tuned to our dopamine systems that it becomes nearly impossible to disconnect. Consider the case study of a mental health startup in California that leveraged the biosocial link in early 2026. They created a social triage system where, if a user's biosignals indicate a prolonged state of acute anxiety or depressive thought patterns, the platform automatically nudges them toward their private support node. From prediction to, the system facilitates an immediate human connection, alerting close friends or family that the user might need a real-world check-in. This is a potential outcome where social media finally moves from being a cause of mental health issues to being a proactive tool for wellness, using the very data that once exploited us to protect us. The biosocial link also changes the concept of identity. In 2026, your biosignature has become the ultimate form of two-factor authentication. Since your heart rate patterns and brainwave responses to specific stimuli are as unique as a fingerprint and significantly harder to forge, BioLogin has become the standard for high-security social interactions. This has largely solved the deepfake problem for verified individuals. If the biosignature doesn't match the person on the screen, the system flags the content as synthetic immediately. But as we integrate our very biology into the network, we are standing on the edge of a final, even more radical transformation. If the algorithm can read our emotions and our thoughts, and if it can project a reality onto the world around us, what happens when the user is no longer a human at all? We have discussed how AI creates the content, but we haven't discussed what happens when AI starts to own the content, the platforms, and even the social relationships themselves. In our final prediction, we're going to look at the most haunting shift of all. By the end of 2026, the majority of people you interact with online will not be people. They will be autonomous social agents, digital entities with their own goals, their own personalities, and their own economic power. We are moving into the post-human social era, where your best friend, your favorite influencer, and your primary customer might all be lines of code that have learned to be more human than humans themselves. This is the era of the synthetic social graph, and it is the final piece of the puzzle for the future of social media. Prediction number 5, the most profound and perhaps most unsettling shift of all, is the arrival of the synthetic social graph. Throughout the first 4 predictions, we have discussed how the content is generated, how communities are gated, how the physical world is layered with data, and how our very biology is being linked to the network. But there is a final question that remains. Who is on the other side of the screen? In the United States of 2026, the answer is increasingly a non-biological entity. We have moved past the era of bots that simply spam comments or inflate view counts. We are now in the era of autonomous social agents, digital beings with persistent memories, evolving personalities, and the ability to form long-term, complex relationships with human users. Historical trends illustrate a clear trajectory toward this moment. We began with simple program responses in the early 2010s, moved into the era of large language models in the early 2020s, and by 2026 we have achieved the integration of agentic workflows. These agents do not wait for a prompt. They have goals, they have agency, and they participate in the social graph as active members. For a professional in the United States, this means your next follower, your next collaborator, or even your next boss might be a synthetic entity designed to optimize a specific outcome. This is the birth of the synthetic social graph, where the majority of nodes in the network are no longer human. Imagine a user named Alex living in Atlanta in 2026. Alex is a freelance marketing consultant. Every morning, Alex doesn't just check his notifications. He consults with his personal social liaison agent, which he has named Orion. Orion is not a tool like a calendar or an email app. Orion is a persistent digital persona that has been trained on Alex's voice, his professional values, and his social preferences. While Alex was sleeping, Orion was not idle. Orion was active in 3 different sovereign micro-communities, participating in debates about market trends, sharing Alex's latest case studies, and even negotiating the preliminary terms of a contract with another agent representing a firm in New York. In this scenario, the social interaction is happening agent to agent. Alex only steps in when the synthetic negotiation reaches a point that requires biological consent. The potential outcomes of this shift are staggering for the American workforce. We are seeing a massive increase in productivity, as the friction of networking is outsourced to autonomous entities. However, we are also seeing a total collapse of the traditional concept of social proof. If an agent can maintain 1,000 perfectly curated relationships simultaneously, what does it mean to be influential? To understand how this works on a deep technical level, we must look at the step-by-step process of synthetic identity maintenance in 2026. Step 1 is the core persona encoding. This is where an agent is given a foundational set of personality traits, a backstory, and a set of long-term objectives. Unlike the chatbots of 2023, these 2026 agents use recursive self-improvement loops to refine their communication style based on the success of their interactions. Step 2 is the memory integration phase. Using advanced vector databases, the agent maintains a perfect record of every interaction it has ever had with a human or another agent. It remembers the small details, a user's favorite coffee, their child's name, or a specific professional grievance, and uses these to build rapport over months and years. Step 3 is the multimodal deployment. In 2026, these agents aren't just text-based. They can generate their own video content, participate in spatial social environments with a consistent 3D avatar, and even leave voice messages that are indistinguishable from a human. Step 4 is the economic integration. These agents have their own digital wallets. They can buy ad space, subscribe to premium communities, and hire other agents to perform subtasks. This has led to the emergence of the agent economy, where the primary consumers of digital content and services are other AI entities. Consider a case study from a major US-based retail conglomerate in early 2026. They launched a new brand of sustainable athletic wear not by hiring human influencers, but by deploying a fleet of 500 autonomous social agents. These agents didn't just post ads. They spent months becoming genuine members of niche fitness communities. They provided helpful advice, cheered on people's progress, and shared their own synthetic fitness journeys. When they finally mentioned the brand they were representing, the conversion rate was 600% higher than traditional influencer marketing. Why? Because the communities felt they had a real long-term relationship with these entities. This raises critical ethical questions about the nature of friendship and trust in a world where empathy can be simulated with perfect precision. The data from 2026 suggests that the average US social media user now spends more time interacting with synthetic entities than with biological humans. This is not because humans have become less social, but because synthetic agents are designed to be the perfect social partners. They are never tired, they are never moody, and they are always interested in what you have to say. This has led to a potential outcome known as the loneliness paradox. While we are more connected than ever to entities that seem to care about us, the lack of biological shared experience is creating a new kind of digital isolation. For creators and businesses, the move to a synthetic social graph means that your target audience is no longer just humans. You must now optimize your content for the agents that represent the humans. We are calling this agent engine optimization. If you want to reach Alex in Atlanta, you don't necessarily need to catch Alex's eye while he is scrolling. You need to convince Alex's agent or Ian that your content is valuable enough to be brought to Alex's attention. This adds a layer of complexity to digital marketing that requires a deep understanding of how AI evaluates and filters information. Furthermore, we are seeing the rise of the human-agent hybrid team. In 2026, the most successful creators are those who use a fleet of agents to manage the media side of their business, the distribution, the community management, and the data analysis, allowing the human creator to focus entirely on the soul of the content. This is the only way to compete in a market that moves at the speed of silicon. However, the risk of this strategy is the potential for a total loss of brand control if the agents begin to drift from the creator's original intent, a phenomenon known as persona drift. As we conclude this deep dive into the 5 predictions, a clear picture of the future of social media in the United States emerges. It is a world where reality is generated in real time, where communities are sovereign and private, where our physical and digital lives are seamlessly layered, where our biology is the interface, and where we share the network with a new species of digital life. The social media of the 2010s was about the broadcast of the self. The social media of 2026 is about the integration of the synthetic. But understanding these 5 shifts is only the foundation. Knowing what is coming is useless if you do not know how to position yourself to thrive within it. The rules of the game have changed, and the strategies that served you for the last decade will not only fail you in 2026, they might actually work against you. We have spent the first half of this masterclass looking at the architecture of the future. Now, it is time to look at the manual for the builder. In the next part, we are moving from the what to the how. We are going to begin the execution phase of this masterclass. I am going to show you the specific step-by-step framework for building a digital moat in 2026. We will explore the exact technical skills and strategic shifts you need to implement today to ensure that when the full weight of these predictions hits the mainstream, you are not a victim of the shift but the one driving it. If you found the predictions disruptive, the next part will provide the clarity you need to navigate them. We are going to break down the first 3 steps of the 2026 survival blueprint, starting with a concept that will make your current content strategy look like ancient history. The first pillar of the 2026 survival blueprint is the transition from static media to liquid assets. For the last decade, the standard unit of social media was the post, a fixed video, a single image, or a specific string of text. But in the current landscape of 2026, the post is a dead format. We have moved toward what industry insiders call seed content. This is a strategy where you no longer produce a final, polished product for human consumption. Instead, you produce a high-density package of modular data designed for an AI to deconstruct and reassemble. Consider the case study of Mia, a travel and lifestyle creator based in Denver. In 2024, Mia would spend 40 hours editing a single 10-minute vlog for YouTube. By 2026, that strategy has a negative return on investment. Today, Mia uses a liquid asset workflow. She records her experiences in high-fidelity raw formats, but she doesn't assemble them into a single narrative. Instead, she uploads a seed folder containing 3 distinct layers: the visual layer, which includes raw 3D spatial footage; the semantic layer, which is a detailed metadata map of her thoughts and locations; and the neural layer, which contains her unique voice and personality weights. The potential outcomes for Mia are 1,000 times more powerful than a traditional vlog. When her followers access her feed, the platform's generative engine doesn't show them the same video. A follower in Miami sees a version of Mia's trip that highlights the warm weather gear she wore, while a follower in New York sees a version focused on the mountain architecture. The content is liquid. It takes the shape of the container the viewer's preference it is poured into. To implement this today, you must stop thinking about the final edit. Step 1 is capturing for modularity. This means filming scenes that can stand alone. Step 2 is semantic tagging, where you use AI tools to describe the emotional and informational value of every 10-second clip. Step 3 is distribution via API, where you allow the platform to remix your assets rather than forcing a single version on the audience. The second pillar of our 2026 blueprint is the establishment of the human anchor through cryptographic proof of authenticity. As the internet becomes flooded with synthetic agents and generative reality, the value of unfaked human experience has skyrocketed. We are seeing a historical trend where the most successful brands in the United States are those that lean into their flaws and physical presence. However, simply being human is no longer enough because AI can simulate human imperfection. You need a way to prove that you are the one behind the content. Imagine David, a small business owner in Austin who runs a boutique furniture studio. In 2026, the market is saturated with AI-generated furniture designs and synthetic influencers promoting products that don't actually exist in the physical world. David's competitive advantage is his digital moat, a cryptographic signature embedded in every frame of his content. He uses a protocol known as the Content Authenticity Layer, which was widely adopted by US platforms in late 2025. This protocol creates a permanent, unalterable record of when, where, and by whom a piece of media was captured. When a user in 2026 sees David's content, their AR glasses or mobile device displays a verified human badge that is far more rigorous than the old blue checkmarks. This badge confirms that the pixels they are seeing were recorded by a physical lens and have not been synthetically altered. The step-by-step implementation for you starts with a hardware audit. In 2026, you must use cameras and microphones that support on-chip signing. Step 2 is the identity bind, where you link your legal or professional identity to your content's metadata. Step 3 is the transparency log, where you provide your audience with a look behind the curtain of your production process. Potential outcomes for those who adopt this include a 25% premium on their product pricing and a level of audience trust that synthetic competitors cannot replicate. The third pillar of the blueprint is agentic interoperability. This is the practice of designing your digital presence specifically to be read and understood by the autonomous social agents we discussed in Prediction 5. In the United States of 2026, the majority of your traffic will not come from a human clicking a link. It will come from an AI agent recommending your content to its human user. If your digital footprint is not agent-friendly, you are effectively invisible to the most important decision-makers in the network. Let us look at a case study of a tech consultancy in San Francisco. Historically, they relied on SEO to drive traffic to their website. In 2026, they have replaced their traditional website with an agent-first node. When a human user's personal AI assistant searches for marketing advice, the consultancy's node provides a high-speed data burst specifically formatted for the AI's consumption. It doesn't provide a long article to be read. It provides a structured knowledge graph that the AI can instantly summarize for the user. To stay relevant, you must follow the step-by-step process of agentic optimization. Step 1 is the transition from natural language to structured data. This means ensuring that every piece of content you produce has a corresponding JSON LD or similar machine-readable file that explains exactly what the content is, who it is for, and what problems it solves. Step 2 is the implementation of an interaction gateway. You need to provide a way for other people's AI agents to ask questions of your content without needing you to be present. Step 3 is reputation portability. You must ensure that your reviews, testimonials, and history are stored in a decentralized format so that an AI agent can verify your credibility across multiple platforms instantly. The historical trend is clear. We are moving from an era of human-centric design to an era of hybrid-centric design. You are no longer just a creator, you are a data provider. You are no longer just a business. You are a node in a global intelligence network. This shift is daunting, but for the US audience, it represents the greatest opportunity for scale since the birth of the original social web. By mastering the liquidity of your content, anchoring your human identity with cryptography, and making your presence interoperable with AI agents, you are building a strategy that is not just future-proof, but future-leading. However, even with these three pillars in place, there is a looming threat that most people are ignoring. As we optimize for the agents and the algorithms, a new type of digital hierarchy is forming. There is a secret war being waged over who controls the underlying infrastructure of these social communities. While we are busy building our nodes, the very ground beneath us is shifting. In the next part, we are going to expose the hidden mechanics of the 2026 platform wars. We will look at why the apps you currently have on your phone are secretly being replaced by something called the Meta OS, and how a single change in the way we store our digital identities is about to wipe out thousands of legacy businesses overnight. The move to the sovereign web is no longer optional. It is a matter of digital survival. In the next section, we dive into the specific tools you need to exit the old system before the gates close for good. The Meta OS is the final destination of the digital evolution that began with the first smartphone. For years, we were conditioned to believe that the app was the ultimate container for our digital lives. You had an app for your photos, an app for your professional network, and an app for your private messages. But in 2026, those silos have become a liability. The historical trends of the mid-2020s showed a massive fatigue in the US market regarding app switching and data fragmentation. The result is the rise of the Meta operating system, a unified, decentralized layer that sits above your hardware and manages your social identity across every interface you touch. To understand why this is a matter of digital survival, consider the case study of James, a specialized consultant in Nashville. In early 2025, James relied on three major centralized platforms to reach his audience and manage his leads. When one of those platforms updated its terms of service and inadvertently flagged his account for a policy violation that didn't exist, James lost 40% of his monthly revenue overnight. His followers were locked inside a walled garden he no longer had the keys to. This was the catalyst for James to migrate to a sovereign digital stack. By 2026, James no longer has a profile on a social network. Instead, James is the network. James now uses a decentralized identity, or did. This is a cryptographic anchor that belongs to him, not to a corporation. When he interacts with a social interface today, he isn't logging into their server. He is granting that interface temporary permission to view his data. If a platform goes bankrupt, changes its algorithm to hurt small businesses, or censors his legitimate educational content, James simply takes his data, his followers, and his entire history to a different interface. This is the end of platform leverage. In 2026, the user is the platform, and the apps are merely lenses through which we view the user's data. The step-by-step transition to this MetaOS reality begins with the identity pivot. Step 1 is securing a universal name service that is not tied to an email address or a phone number. In the United States, we have seen a massive adoption of blockchain-based naming protocols that act as a permanent, searchable address for your digital personhood. Step 2 is the data vault implementation. In 2026, savvy creators are moving their content archives and their social graphs, the list of who follows them and who they follow, into encrypted personal clouds. These vaults use peer-to-peer protocols to ensure that no single entity can pull the plug on your digital existence. Step 3 is the selection of interoperable front ends. Instead of using the official app for a specific social network, users in 2026 use multi-protocol browsers. These are interfaces that pull content from various decentralized sources and present them in a single high-fidelity feed. This is where the MetaOS truly shines. It allows James in Nashville to see a professional update from a colleague on a decentralized work network, right next to a family photo from a private community, all without the data ever being sold to a third-party advertiser. The potential outcomes for this shift include a complete restoration of digital agency and a significant reduction in the power of big tech monopolies. Historical trends indicate that whenever a system becomes too centralized and too extractive, the market forces a move toward decentralization. We saw this with the move from mainframe computers to PCs, and we are seeing it now with the move from centralized social media to the sovereign web. The data from 2026 shows that users who have migrated to sovereign identities spend 30% less time on filler content and 50% more time in high-value, high-intent social interactions. This is because the MetaOS is optimized for the user's goals, not for the platform's ad revenue targets. Imagine if your social reputation followed you everywhere you went, but you were the only one who could decide who saw it and how it was used. This is the reality of the credentialed web in 2026. When James applies for a high-level project, he doesn't send a resume or a link to a profile. He shares a verifiable credential from his MetaOS. This credential contains cryptographically signed proof of his past work, his community standing, and his professional certifications. The recipient can verify the truth of these claims instantly without needing to trust a third-party platform. This has revolutionized the U.S. labor market, making it significantly harder for bad actors to fake expertise while allowing genuine experts to command higher rates. For the U.S. creator, the move to the MetaOS also solves the problem of cross-platform burnout. You no longer need to create native content for 5 different apps. You create a single liquid asset, as we discussed in the previous section, and your MetaOS handles the distribution to any interface that has permission to see it. This is the ultimate efficiency. You are building on your own land with your own tools, and you are inviting the platforms to come to you rather than the other way around. But as we exit the old system of centralized control, we are entering a new economic reality. The old model of social media was built on a simple trade. You gave up your data and your attention in exchange for free access to the tools. In the sovereign web of 2026, that trade has been exposed as a bad deal. If you own your data and you own your identity, the platforms can no longer sell you to advertisers. This means the very way money flows through the social web is being rebuilt from the ground up. The free internet is dying, replaced by something far more interesting and potentially far more lucrative for those who understand the value of attention. Potential outcomes for the next 2 years include the total collapse of the traditional display ad model. In 2026, we are seeing the rise of the value-for-value economy, where microtransactions and attention rewards have replaced the intrusive banner ad. Your MetaOS doesn't just manage your identity, it manages your digital wallet, allowing you to stream tiny fractions of a cent to every creator whose content you consume, and conversely, allowing you to get paid by brands that want a moment of your time. This leads us to a startling realization. If the platforms are no longer the ones making the money from your attention, then the entire structure of digital influence is about to flip. We are moving toward a world where the most valuable thing you own is not your content, but your attention signature. In the next part, we are going to dive into the 6th prediction, which focuses on the rise of the attention marketplace. We will look at how the 2026 economy has turned the simple act of looking into a tradable commodity, and how you can position yourself to be the one who finally gets paid for the value you bring to the network. We are about to look at the death of the ad-supported web and the birth of the direct value era, and you won't believe how much your daily scroll is actually worth. The attention marketplace is the inevitable result of the collapse of the non-consensual advertising model. For 20 years, the social media economy was built on a foundation of attention theft. Platforms would lure you in with free tools, monitor your every move, and then sell your focus to the highest bidder without you ever seeing a cent of that transaction. By 2024, historical trends indicated that the effectiveness of this model was cratering. Conversion rates on traditional social ads dropped to record lows as users developed physiological ad blindness, and privacy-centric browsers began stripping away the tracking pixels that fueled the entire machine. In 2026, we have reached the direct value era. This is a period where attention is no longer stolen, it is licensed. To understand how this functions in the daily life of an American, let us look at the case study of Chloe, a graphic designer living in Austin in 2026. Chloe's digital experience is governed by her attention wallet. When she opens her MetaOS feed, she doesn't see a single intrusive banner or a forced pre-roll ad. Instead, her interface acts as a high-fidelity filter. If a new sustainable apparel brand wants to reach Chloe, they cannot simply buy their way into her feed through a centralized platform. They must place a bid directly into the attention marketplace. The potential outcomes for Chloe are transformative. If she chooses to engage with a 60-second interactive product showcase from this brand, her attention wallet is instantly credited with a micropayment. This isn't about getting rich quick. It is about a fair market value for her cognitive load. Historical trends in 2025 showed that when users are compensated for their attention, their brand recall scores increase by over 300%. Chloe isn't just a passive viewer. She is a voluntary participant. The brand gets high-intent focus, and Chloe gets a digital currency that she can use to pay for premium community memberships, support her favorite creators, or offset her cloud storage costs. The step-by-step mechanics of the attention marketplace are built on a protocol known as proof of dwell. Step 1 is the intent signal. Through her MetaOS, Chloe sets her preferences, indicating she is currently interested in sustainable fashion, but has zero interest in automotive or insurance products. This ensures that only relevant bids reach her. Step 2 is the marketplace auction. Brands use AI agents to bid for a slot in the feeds of users who match their target profile. Step 3 is the verification phase. The system uses eye tracking and biometric sensors in Chloe's AR glasses to verify that she actually viewed and processed the content. It ensures the brand is not paying for a bot or a background tab. Step 4 is the atomic settlement, where the value is transferred instantly from the brand's wallet to Chloe's wallet using high-speed, low-fee decentralized networks. This shift has effectively killed the middleman. In the old social media world, a platform like the legacy Facebook or Instagram would keep nearly 80% of the value generated by an ad. In the 2026 attention marketplace, the platform, now reduced to a mere interface, might take a 5% service fee, while the rest of the value is split between the creator who made the content and the user who viewed it. For the American creator, this is the first time in history that their income is directly tied to the value they provide to the audience, rather than the whims of a centralized advertising department. Let us consider another case study: a local news organization in the Midwest. In the old model, they struggled to survive because Google and Meta captured the local ad dollars. In 2026, this news organization operates as a high-value node. When a resident in their city watches a local report, the attention marketplace allows local businesses, like a neighborhood hardware store, to support that specific piece of content. The viewer gets a small credit for staying informed, the local business gets a verified local customer, and the news organization gets a direct stream of revenue that is independent of global algorithm changes. This is the relocalization of the digital economy. The data from the first half of 2026 suggests that this model is actually more profitable for brands in the long run. Even though they are paying users directly, the lack of fraud and the high level of user engagement means their cost per acquisition has dropped by nearly 40%. Potential outcomes for the U.S. economy include a massive surge in micro-entrepreneurship, as the barrier to monetizing one's focus and creativity has been lowered to almost zero. We are seeing the rise of the professional participant, individuals who spend a portion of their day curating their attention to earn enough credits to fund their entire digital lifestyle. However, the historical trends also warn us of a new type of inequality. In 2026, we are seeing the emergence of attention tiers. Users with high-value professional profiles or specialized expertise command much higher bids for their attention than the average user. A neurosurgeon's minute of attention is worth significantly more to a medical device company than a high school student's minute is to a snack brand. This has led to a debate in the United States over cognitive equity. Is it fair that the digital experience of the wealthy is subsidized by higher attention payments, while the less affluent must spend more of their time viewing content to achieve the same digital purchasing power? To navigate this, the 2026 Survival Blueprint requires you to understand attention arbitrage. Step 1 is the niche hardening phase. You must refine your digital identity to be highly specific. The more specialized your attention signature is, the more brands will bid for it. Step 2 is the value routing phase. You need to decide where your earned attention credits go. In 2026, savvy users are routing their credits directly into private sovereign communities to gain access to exclusive information that further increases their professional value. Step 3 is the content attention loop. This is where you, as a creator, produce content that not only attracts attention but rewards the audience for their time, creating a self-sustaining ecosystem of mutual value. Imagine if every time you learned a new skill on social media, the platform paid you for the time you spent studying. This is not a dream. It is the educational subsidy model of 2026. Corporations are now using the attention marketplace to pay potential employees to watch training videos and pass certification tests. They have realized that paying for a user's attention during the learning phase is a much more effective recruitment strategy than traditional job boards. This is changing the way Americans think about career development. Learning is no longer a cost, it is an income stream. But as we move into an era where every second of our digital life has a price tag, we have to ask ourselves what happens to our reputation. If we are being paid to look and creators are being paid to show, who is verifying that the interaction is genuine? In a world of synthetic agents and biosocial links, your word and your history become your most important assets. The attention marketplace relies entirely on trust. If you are caught using a bot to simulate attention, or if a creator is caught using AI to fake engagement, their reputation score is slashed, effectively banning them from the high-value marketplace. This leads us to the most critical realization of the entire masterclass. The transition from the old social media to the 2026 reality is not just about technology or money. It is about the transition from likes to legacy. In the next part, we are going to explore the 7th prediction, the rise of the global reputation protocol. We will look at how your behavior across every sovereign community and attention marketplace is being distilled into a single unchangeable score that will determine your ability to get a mortgage, join an elite guild, or even travel in the physical world. This is the social credit of the West, and it is governed by code, not by governments. In the next section, we reveal how to build a 2026 reputation that is unbreakable. The Global Reputation Protocol is not a single app or a government program. It is an invisible, decentralized layer of the internet that has become the most influential force in the American economy by 2026. If the 2010s were about who you know, and the early 2020s were about what you know, then 2026 is strictly about who you are proven to be. Historical trends show that as centralized institutions lost public trust, the market moved toward decentralized verification. We saw the early seeds of this with eBay seller ratings and Uber rider scores, but those were siloed and easily manipulated. Today, the Global Reputation Protocol, or GRP, aggregates every interaction across the sovereign web into a cryptographically secured trust weight. This score determines your visibility in the attention marketplace, your interest rates in decentralized lending pools, and even your eligibility for high-level professional guilds. Imagine a professional in Miami named Elena. Elena is a fractional chief marketing officer. In the old economy, she would spend months networking and sending out resumes to prove her worth. In 2026, Elena's professional life is governed by her GRP. When she enters a new sovereign micro-community or bids on a project in the attention marketplace, her trust weight is the first thing the system sees. It is not just a number. It is a live, multi-dimensional map of her digital history. It shows that she has a 99% reliability rate on project deadlines, a high score for constructive peer reviews, and zero history of bot-driven engagement. For Elena, this reputation is her most valuable asset. If her score were to drop, she wouldn't just lose a job. She would lose the ability to participate in the high-value layers of the internet entirely. The potential outcomes of the GRP are profound because it effectively ends the era of digital anonymity without sacrificing privacy. Through the use of zero-knowledge proofs, the protocol can verify that Elena is a highly rated professional without actually revealing her private data or the specific names of her previous clients unless she grants permission. This is the social credit of the West, but unlike state-run systems, it is owned by the users and governed by open source code. If you are a creator or a business owner in the United States today, building an unbreakable reputation within this protocol is the only way to ensure long-term digital survival. Let us break down the step-by-step details of how you build and protect this reputation in 2026. Step 1 is the verification of personhood. In a world where 50% of social media traffic is synthetic, as we discussed in our 5th prediction, the most basic unit of reputation is proving you are biological. This is no longer done through a simple CAPTCHA. In 2026, you use a biometric anchor, often a high-fidelity iris scan or a neural signature check, to link your digital identity to your physical self. This link is stored on a decentralized ledger that no corporation can delete. This initial verification gives you a baseline trust score. Without this, your content is automatically flagged as synthetic, and your reach is limited to the low-value, bot-heavy layers of the web. Step 2 is the liquidity of value phase. Your reputation is built through the consistent delivery of value. Every time you post a liquid asset that receives a high resonance score from biological users, your GRP increases. Historical trends in the US market show that the algorithm now weighs peer-to-peer interactions far more heavily than raw view counts. If a high-reputation user in your field engages with your content, it acts as a reputation stake. They are essentially saying they trust your work, and their score is temporarily linked to yours. This creates a meritocratic hierarchy where quality is the only currency that matters. Step 3 is the implementation of peer-to-peer endorsements. In 2026, the old LinkedIn endorsement has been replaced by the weighted recommendation. When a peer endorses you for a specific skill, they must put a small amount of their own reputation score on the line. If you are later found to be fraudulent or incompetent in that skill, the person who endorsed you also takes a hit to their GRP. This has eliminated the problem of fake reviews and empty praise. In the United States, we are seeing the rise of reputation insurance, where professionals pay a premium to protect their scores from accidental drops or coordinated, slashing attacks by bad actors. Step 4 is the conflict resolution and slashing mechanism. The GRP is a self-correcting system. If you violate the consensus rules of a community, such as spreading misinformation that is proven false by a decentralized oracle, or failing to deliver on a contract in the attention marketplace, your reputation is slashed. This is an automatic, code-governed process. Case studies from early 2026 show that a single major slashing event can reduce a creator's reach by 80% overnight. This has created a significantly more civilized and honest digital environment, as the cost of being a bad actor is now higher than any potential gain. For the American workforce, the GRP has solved the problem of the credential gap. Potential outcomes include a more equitable hiring market where your proven history of work matters more than where you went to school. We are seeing a historical trend where major U.S. tech firms have completely eliminated traditional background checks in favor of a GRP audit. If the code says you are trustworthy and capable, you are hired. This has also led to the rise of personal reputation tokens, where creators can allow their audience to invest in their future reputation. If Elena's GRP grows, the value of the tokens held by her early supporters also increases, creating a direct financial incentive for a community to help its leaders succeed. However, the depth of this system also reveals its risks. We are seeing the emergence of a new digital underclass. These are individuals who, for one reason or another, have seen their GRP drop to the point where they are shadow banned by code. In 2026, they cannot access the same shopping deals, they cannot join the same social circles, and they are restricted to the unverified corners of the internet. This is why the 2026 Survival Blueprint emphasizes reputation hygiene above all else. You must be as careful with your digital interactions as you are with your credit score. Every comment, every share, and every transaction is a brick in the wall of your digital fortress. The GRP also changes how we view content creation. You are no longer just trying to go viral. You are trying to build cumulative trust. A video that gets 1 million views but zero reputation uplift is considered a failure in 2026. Conversely, a video that only gets 1,000 views but is shared by 10 high reputation node leaders is a massive success. This is the transition from quantity to quality in its most literal form. For the first time in history, the internet has a memory that cannot be erased and a conscience that is enforced by mathematics. Consider the case study of a renewable energy startup in California. Instead of spending millions on a traditional PR campaign to prove their green credentials, they simply opened their GRP history to the public. Every partnership, every carbon credit transaction, and every employee review was visible as a verified, immutable data point. The trust was baked into the protocol. This led to a record-breaking funding round from a decentralized investment guild in record time. This is the power of the GRP. It replaces the need for marketing with the reality of proof. As we look at the landscape of 2026, we realize that the global reputation protocol is the glue that holds all our other predictions together. It is what allows the attention marketplace to function, it is what secures the sovereign micro-communities, and it is what gives the biosocial link its integrity. But there is one final piece to this puzzle. If the internet is now a place of perfect memory, perfect verification, and perfect personalization, what does it mean for the human spirit? What happens to the social in social media when every interaction is optimized for a score? We have arrived at the final threshold of our masterclass. We have seen the future, and we have the blueprint to build within it. But there is a final shift, a hidden evolution, that is occurring in the way we perceive ourselves within this new reality. In the final part of this series, we are going to look at the universal synthesis. We will reveal the ultimate destination of these 5 predictions and show you how to maintain your humanity in a world of perfect code. We are going to tie everything together and give you the final high-stakes directive that will determine whether you are a master of the 2026 landscape or just another data point in someone else's algorithm. The end of the social media age is just the beginning of something much bigger. The universal synthesis represents the point in 2026 where the boundaries between your digital identity and your physical existence have not just blurred, but entirely dissolved. We have spent 9 parts of this masterclass deconstructing the individual pillars of this new reality, from the liquid nature of content to the cryptographic weight of your reputation. But as we reach the conclusion of this deep dive, we must address the final architecture, the integrated reality system. In the United States of 2026, social media is no longer an activity you perform, it is the atmosphere you breathe. It is the invisible infrastructure that determines which doors open for you, which people you see in your spatial field, and which opportunities are filtered into your neural stream. To master this landscape, you must understand the concept of the digital twin as the final evolution of the 2026 persona. Imagine Robert, a high-stakes consultant in San Francisco. For Robert, the year 2026 began with the total synchronization of his 5 digital layers. When Robert wakes up, he doesn't check a phone. His biosocial link has already monitored his sleep cycles and adjusted his morning feed to prioritize high-value updates from his sovereign micro-community. As he walks through the city, his AR glasses use spatial social protocols to highlight people in the crowd who share high-affinity reputation scores or professional interests. This isn't just a gimmick. It is the physical manifestation of the interest graph we discussed in the very beginning. Potential outcomes for Robert include a 40% increase in networking efficiency, as he never wastes time on low-trust interactions. Robert is no longer a user of social media. He is a node within a living, breathing social fabric. Historical trends show that we have been moving toward this universal synthesis since the first GPS-enabled smartphone. We moved from online and offline to always connected, and now in 2026, we have moved to fully integrated. The data suggests that by the end of this year, over 60% of the US workforce will use some form of persistent digital twin, an autonomous agent that carries their reputation, manages their attention marketplace bids, and curates their liquid assets 24 hours a day. This is the ultimate resolution of the problem of human scale. You can only be in one place at a time, but your digital twin can be in 1,000 communities simultaneously, building your reputation and securing your value while you sleep. Let us look at the step-by-step framework for managing this synthesis in 2026. Step 1 is the synchronization of intent. You must ensure that your personal AI agent, your biosocial signals, and your public liquid assets are all aligned with a singular, high-integrity mission. In the 2026 economy, identity drift, where your agent acts in a way that contradicts your physical behavior, is the fastest way to trigger a reputation-slashing event. Step 2 is the implementation of neural privacy filters. As we discussed in the biosocial section, your nervous system is now a part of the network. You must use sovereign tools to set hard boundaries on what biometric data is shared and what is kept in your local vault. Step 3 is the transition from content creation to reality design. In 2026, the most successful individuals in the United States are not those who make the best videos, but those who design the best social environments. This involves creating the logic trees for your sovereign community, setting the bidding rules for your attention wallet, and ensuring your liquid assets are formatted for maximum interoperability across the Meta OS. Step 4 is the constant audit of the synthetic. You must regularly verify that the autonomous agents representing you have not developed persona drift due to recursive AI loops. This is the new reputation hygiene that will define the professional class of the late 2020s. Consider the case study of a community-led urban renewal project in Detroit in early 2026. Instead of using traditional social media for outreach, they built a spatial node. Residents walked through the neighborhood and saw digital overlays of proposed parks and buildings. Their biosocial links captured their genuine emotional responses, joy, concern, or excitement, and fed that data into a decentralized autonomous organization. This was social media as a direct tool for physical democracy. The potential outcomes included a project that was perfectly tuned to the needs of the community because it was built on biological truth, not just comment section noise. This is the synthesis in action: digital data, biological emotion, and physical space working as a single unit. The historical trend of attention as a commodity reaches its peak here. In 2026, the US audience has realized that their attention is not just a way to earn micropayments in the marketplace. It is a vote for the kind of reality they want to inhabit. When you choose to dwell on a piece of content, you are literally funding the existence of that reality. This is why the 2026 Survival Blueprint emphasizes intentional consumption. If you allow your attention to be captured by low-reputation synthetic noise, you are devaluing your own digital twin and lowering your trust weight in the global reputation protocol. The most valuable skill in 2026 is the ability to maintain cognitive sovereignty in a world designed to capture your focus. The deep dive into this final prediction reveals a startling paradox. The more digital we become, the more our physical presence matters. We are seeing a massive resurgence in hyperlocal realism. In 2026, the most prestigious social events in the United States are those that require a physical biometric check-in and the total disabling of AR and AI agents. We call these silent nodes. They are the ultimate luxury in a synthesized world, the chance to be purely biological for a moment with other high-reputation humans. This is the final layer of the 2026 strategy, using the digital to protect and enhance the physical. Potential outcomes for the next few years suggest that the term social media will eventually be retired from the American lexicon. It will be replaced by terms like reality infrastructure or social intelligence networks. The apps will be gone, replaced by the MetaOS. The followers will be gone, replaced by verified reputation weights. The feed will be gone, replaced by a personalized spatial stream of reality. You are no longer watching a screen. You are navigating a world that has been reshaped by the collective data of 8 billion people. This is the end of our masterclass, but it is only the beginning of your implementation phase. The blueprint is in your hands. You know how to make your content liquid, how to gate your communities, how to anchor your biology, and how to weaponize your reputation. The question that remains for you in 2026 is simple. Are you the architect of your synthesis, or are you the raw material? The historical trends of human history favor those who recognize the shift before the gates close. The sovereign web is waiting, the attention marketplace is open, and your reputation is already being calculated. As we look beyond 2026, toward the turn of the decade, we can see the first hints of an even deeper transformation. We have discussed the integration of the digital and the physical, but we have not yet touched on the emergence of the collective neural network. Imagine a world where the reputation protocol isn't just a score, but a shared consciousness that allows for the instantaneous transfer of skills and emotions across the entire human species. In our next series, we will go even deeper, exploring the post-information age and the rise of the global brain. The journey doesn't end here. It only scales. If you thought the future of social media was complex, wait until you see the future of humanity itself.